It's the time in spring again where we start to think about garden cleanup, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. In this video, we are going to prune my climbing roses and maybe a couple of other ones which I have here in my garden, and we're also cutting back a very unruly lavender, actually two unruly lavender plants, and give them a really drastic haircut to get them situated for the new growing season as well. And I might take some footage for before and after later in the season, so you see how quick they like resprout and like regrow in the end. So that's what we're doing. Let me walk you through my perennial setup here. It's not many perennials, as you know. I grow mostly annuals with like cut flowers on the Ls here and vegetables on in the other bed. But on this beautiful arch behind me, I have actually two roses, although the one on the back of the arch is a little bit sad, so I'm still going back and forth if I should pull it and replace it with a different climber, because both of those climbing roses have been put into place at the same in the same spring, like with like a month apart, but one already populated the arch and the other one is just tall like this. Then I have these days 4 roses in my OG flower beds over here, which are behind us, which you'll see in a second, and then 2 more, one in a pot and one in front of the house, which are getting a cut too. What materials I use for my pruning job is very simple. Some really rigid gloves for those thorny roses. And I have a couple really, really thorny ones, so I just had to get some new ones. I don't hope they're as good as my old ones because I couldn't find those ones anymore. They lasted me like 3 years, but then they got thin and actually weren't thorn proof anymore. I have a hand pruner here from Falco. Looks a little bit rustic. We've got to clean those ones later on. And some clippers for the smaller ones. And then what's really important to me always is some bleach solution. So between the plants that we can dip the shears in it and clean them off so that we're not transferring problems from one plant to another. So always make sure your equipment is clean. I do clean my snips afterwards under soapy water, so there's no bleach which is going to be left sitting on them before you start yelling at me using bleach. But that works usually very, very well for all my equipment, which I also use throughout the cut flower season to like really dip religiously between each plant so that nothing gets transferred. So clean your shears. So what I'm going to do is now looking at my beautiful David Austin Bathsheba rose and look for the 3Ds, right? Dead, diseased, and damaged. And this is a big one, and what I found already below, because the bunnies love the roses for some reason, we have here one cane which is like half eaten through, right? That is something what I would cut. We also have here some dead ones, which I would cut. And I think I found some dead ones up there, which will go shorter, but let's start on the bottom here. So, and I always just make sure like how far I go. That is actually a short one, so that's perfectly fine for me to cut. And I'll just cut that one on the bottom off. Ooh. Just make sure you wear proper rose gloves because they are mean. And there we go. And then we'll take, oh, this one is already off. Great. What's dead over here? That is dead. Or this one here. Do you see also how this rubs on the big healthy cane? So this is something what you definitely want to get rid of, right? So it's like just to give it some more space. And this one is damaged too, so we'll cut that one back too. Like that didn't look good at all either, right? So things like that I'll cut out. This one here looks damaged too, but it's just surface damage, and this is my biggest cane going up. So I'll leave that for now and just see how it's going to do over the season, but I think it's going to be fine. Then let's switch to the other side. Then we're going a little bit further up. I think we got what was going on below, but you can see here we have here some which are looking not so great either, right? That is something what I would cut. And it's also like reaching out of the arc. So that's just something what I will cut back here in general. Floop. And this one is the same. It's like that on the top. So I'll actually cut that one down. And this one here on the top doesn't look great as well. So actually might take that entire arm out because it's also reaching backward, not forward where I want to have it. So I'm actually cutting that out on the bottom here. I was always scared to prune my flowers or my perennials hard. And then I see Laura from Garden Answer go to town on her plants, and gives me always the confidence to go down a little bit harder on those perennials. And last year I thought I ruined it, and it came back and actually reached over the arc. So I think we are going to be fine. When I now look a little bit up here, you see it's a little bit mumbo jumbo mingled here. So we'll try to clean this up, and I also can see a few dead ones. So we'll focus first on the more dead ones, and then we'll make it pretty. This one doesn't look great. And at this time of the year, you can identify also very easily dead ones where no sprouts are coming off either. So this one has nothing on. So I'm just cutting this one off. Yeah, there's nothing going on with that one. Same with this one here on the outside. This has sprouts on the middle, but not on this one. So I'll cut that one out. Yeah, so you can always tell by the color also when you look a little closer which ones are the dead ones and not so great ones. And then you just keep cutting those ones out. This one looks not so great to me. And then you have other ones which are already like sprouting like crazy, right? Those ones I typically leave as long as they're sprouting in the right direction. That is dead. Happy to report the gloves are good. Okay. And like the further you go, the more is it like on the tops, which got like, I think just like frost shocked. And then from the moment you're making more aesthetic cuts, this one has a little bit dead on the top, but otherwise it's an aesthetic cut. I look where the sprouts are going. And I have here one sprout. Like I always try, like you can direct how the growth goes by the direction of the sprouts. So this one will reach into the arch, so that's something what we want. So, and then up here, I'm just looking to make it a little bit more clean. So we'll cut that one off. It feels like it's weirdly crisscrossing. I might leave that one in here because it's so nicely threaded into the arch already. Probably like somewhere here. So, because like the rule of thumb is to get them cut back by a third-ish, right? So to rejuvenate it. So I think that somehow fits well. And I just take off all the old leaves and stuff. And then look around what is crisscrossing. And when we look here quickly, there is a lot of things which feels like they're crisscrossing here. So I think I'll take this one out because it's like going for this one, going to crisscross this one. And this might be a good one to go through the middle. So I'll just take this one out to clean it up a little bit and give it some airflow. And this looks already a lot nicer and cleaner. You could argue there is an art form with like pruning roses. Try it yourself. As I mentioned earlier, I thought I ruined mine last year, but it was perfectly fine. So don't be too intimidated by it. I think it goes well pretty quick, and from the moment they sprout, it's really easy to see in which direction it's going to grow. And this is what the rose looks now. You see it is very slick, and I stopped it like, yeah, a good third or maybe just a quarter down, but it feels a lot more airy and well structured to start the growing season. Clean the shears. As a last step, I put some rose stone just at the base, like a handful or something. It's not an exact science if you ask me. And yeah, let the rain tomorrow water it in. Let's go to lavender. This is just 2 lavender plants, but they, as you can tell, quite unruly. They are beautiful in spring, and typically I cut them back once during the season, which I didn't have time last year, and I'm kind of regretting it a little bit. That's why they are now so big and so unruly, but they're getting a hard haircut now to get rejuvenated. The only thing what you need to be careful with lavender is the woody base, so you can't cut too deep into them. Like, for example, Laura from Garden Answer, she always like levels them to the ground almost. That is what I can't do with these ones anymore because they have already like this woody core. So I got to be mindful of it. So I'm cutting them back to a dome shape. When we look a little bit closer, you can see here how it's like woody in the inside, and now it's like a little bit spread from the wind and all that rain we have. But you see all the little sprouts already coming through. Like what I typically do is go down to where the sprouts start and then just go 1 or 2 up, like this here. And that is usually where I cut. So that is what I take as like a height, and then I'm just like pretty much cutting like this through it. So it's not you don't have to be as exact with the lavender as you are, for example, with the roses. And then just try to think of a little dome shape and just go for it. Be mindful of your irrigation lines. I thought I nicked my one, but I didn't. And you can tell the deeper you get, like the more woody it gets, the harder it gets to cut. So that is the before, and this is the after, with that being everything to be discarded. But when we look a little bit closer, you can see that you see a lot of those little gross points peeking through. And this is exactly how you want it, that you can see what is coming up, and this will look very different in a couple months from now. It will all be a beautiful new lavender growth coming to the size of that one on the right. So great. So here we have now like our 2 beautifully cut back lavenders. They will do great this season. What I actually noticed is this lavender produced an offshoot here. I have a 3rd lavender coming up here, which is too close to this one, so I might dig that out and plant it somewhere else because I love them so much, and they usually transplant well, so we'll see about that. But yeah, one thing is important to know: lavender doesn't like to be fertilized. The more crummier the soil, the better. So for that reason, those don't get fertilizers. Only my roses get fertilizers. So I hope you like the more technical video today. Something what I do every year in spring. You can argue when you want to do it. A lot of people say leave everything as it is as long as you can, so you don't disturb any like pollinators which are wintering over in the debris or so. The roses and the lavender is truly the only things I cut back. Everything else is truly untouched. There's nothing else what gets cleaned up in my garden before it's time, as you can see around in the general chaos. And then we have our backyard there, which is in literal untouched habitat by itself. So I think that is why we have always such amazing pollinator activity here, because that behind us is truly like untouched wetlands, whatever. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. I would love for you to subscribe, and if you have any other comments, leave me one below and I'll try to answer it, and otherwise subscribe and watch another video. Thank you.